Ladies, gentlemen, never in between. Welcome to Talking at Six. I'm your host, 1-6, aka Pecos Billy, and my trusty steed, Widowmaker, aka Hey, Brother Let It, wanna see Dracula dance? Aka Don't worry, I found some nachos, aka Purple Phil, aka Move your arms more like Dracula, aka Chicken Juggler, aka Raggle Fraggle. AKA Grim's not a toy for an idiot boy who can't even tie his shoes. If Billy wins, then we all surely lose. AKA Give me a banana. AKA Destroy us all. 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 AKA That filthy mother ever tries to sleep in my bed again, I'll spank him with a turkey leg. AKA Draco don't suck. He scraped, didn't lick. Today's episode I'll be discussing slash reviewing the Cartoon Network classic series, The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. For those of you that are unaware or unfamiliar with Billy and Mandy, it follows the adventures of two kids and their best friend for life, the Grim Reaper, who was forced to be their best friend after he lost a game of limbo for Billy's pet hamster's soul. Man, I can't remember his name, but long story short, he had a trigger phrase which was "kiss, kiss," and like it would send him into a rabid state. He was extremely old hamster, like he's like definitely, it literally was on his deathbed, like he was definitely done, like end of his line. Grim comes to reap his soul, and Billy and Mandy end up tricking him into playing a game of limbo for the hamster soul in order to try to save his soul. If they won, he won, they got to keep his soul, and Grim had to be their best friend forever. If Grim won, he got the hamster soul, and it's just like Grim's like being the Grim Reaper, the literal Grim Reaper, having all the supernatural powers of the underworld. He's just winning with ease, and as he goes to like win the final challenge, like stick is insanely low as he goes to win, and he like stops halfway under the bar and goes to brag and asks them if they had any final words, and they say "kiss kiss," which was the Mandy says "kiss kiss," which is the hamster's trigger phrase. So he like attacks Grim, and Grim ends up knocking over the limbo bar and losing. So Grim is then forced to be their best friend forever. And basically, the series just like follows them through their like wacky comical misadventures through the netherworld, just dealing with supernatural forces or just like average everyday tasks like that just get turned stupid. Like Billy's an idiot. Like Billy's just insanely stupid and just crazy like nonsense. And then Mandy's like super serious, no nonsense. Like everyone else but me is stupid, but like almost like I guess you could argue that she is like a goth girl. She's kind of like Gaz from Invader Zim, basically like a lot of that personality. And like she's just like really dark and like really serious, and everyone's like kind of terrified of her and just like scared of her. And she's just, like, big plans. Like she's gonna end up basically she has that characteristic of she's gonna run the world one day. Like she's gonna take over the world. She's gonna be in charge of everything one day, and like everyone's just terrified of her because of how like serious and dark she is, especially as a kid. Except for Billy. Billy's the only one that doesn't necessarily fear Mandy because of that. She fears him because like she does like she does beat him up a lot. Like she just like straight punches him in the nose sometimes. And like Billy has a giant nose, and Mandy will just like punch. So Billy fears Mandy in that sense, but not in the sense of like her potential of like what she can do. Billy's like one of the few people that like doesn't like isn't really threatened by Mandy in her potential way and like the seriousness of Mandy. It's more just the flat out violence of Mandy, which is usually only directed towards either Billy or Grim because they're both like idiots. Like Grim, as the series goes on, Grim kind of dumb. They kind of dumb down Grim. Like at the beginning, it's like Grim's like the Grim Reaper. He's all serious about his job and like supernatural. As time goes on, like he just becomes more and more like in tune with like the human world and like gets obsessed with like TV and just hanging out and video games, just chilling with Billy. Like he goes from him reluctantly being their friend to eventually just like he just fully embraces it and just hangs out with the kids and just has a good time, whatever. And it's like it's really funny because eventually like, the show originally started off as like the pilot is just like really rough. Like the series show started and where it ends, the pilot was just really rough. It's kind of like a one-off thing, and eventually it got picked up for to be a series, and it was packaged with Evil Con Carne. So the show like, it eventually originally it was Grim and Evil, where like it'd be the two segment split where one segment would be Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, and the other segment on the episode would be Evil Con Carne, like a segment from Evil the show Evil Con Carne, which was basically like this like evil like general like dictator, I guess, or like super villain, genius super villain. Like his brain got put in a jar, like his living brain, his brain and his stomach got put in a jar that kept him alive, and then they got put into the body of a bear, which like it was weird. It made no sense. The bear was like still alive. The bear was still like somewhat sentient, but his brain could control like his thoughts controlled the bear, but also like you could hear his brain like talking out loud, and his stomach talked. Like you could hear the brain and stomach talking. They both had like separate voices and like separate brains. Like the brain was like all serious and business, and we're gonna take over the world, and the stomach was just stupid, goofy, like just basically the stomach was the comic relief, and like basically yeah, Grim and Evil, and then eventually they both got picked up, they got split apart and picked up into their own shows, where they both have episodes instead of having one segment in Grim and Evil. It got split to where both shows would have like they had their own full show, and they both just did full two segments back to back their own thing. And like honestly, the crazy part, well, eventually Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy outlived Evil Concarne. Like it went on longer, it outlived it, got longer, had a way longer run. It got picked up, more episodes, got way long, outlived it. But it outlived the other show. But the character from Evil Concarne, General Scar, who was one of the henchmen on Evil Concarne, he eventually got put into Billy and Mandy. Like it was never fully like it wasn't like a big deal, like a big reveal or anything. It was just like he was just one day he was like it's just he's Billy's neighbor. Just one episode where Billy like goes to talk to his neighbor and it's General Scar, and like Billy just annoys him like, and Billy's like he's just like Scar's like retired from the criminal life. He's trying to just live a normal peaceful life, enjoy like his retirement. His garden has a garden. He's trying to enjoy a normal life. He's trying to relax, but he can't because Billy's just annoying and stupid. And this is one episode because like he still has all these evil inventions and stuff. And Billy goes like he now General Scar just like a normal person, just average whatever average street clothes. Just driving average person doesn't wear a uniform anymore. And Billy goes in his house and like he's annoying him. And eventually Billy finds his like general like uniform. He has his like uniform on. Don't Scar's old military uniform on. He has this ray gun. And Billy's just like, look at me, everybody. And he's like, everybody, look at me. I'm a used car salesman. And it's just like, it's so funny. And Don't Scar's like, be careful with that. That's a poof. And Billy shoots him with a ray gun. It's hot pants ray gun. It just turns General Scar's pants into hot pants. It's just all really stupid and comedic, but it's hilarious. Also, point this out now because while I'm thinking about it, that line. Billy has the same voice actor as Invader Zim, the character Zim from Invader Zim. He has the same voice actor as Zim, and also Daggett from Angry Beavers. Sorry, I couldn't remember if it was Norbert or Daggett, but it's Daggett, the like louder, high pitched one. Billy has the same voice actor. They have the same voice actor as Billy, and like sometimes you can actually like hear it. Like you can kind of hear like a lot, mostly the Zim. Like you can kind of hear the Zim influence, like especially when Billy's like yelling and like super hype, like the animated, super loud, screaming things, and the more like excited he gets about things, you kind of hear the Zim in there. But it's hilarious. Like so basically like Billy's all just wacky nonsense, comical. Mandy's the no nonsense one, but goes along for the adventures anyway. And then Grim has like the mystical powers of the underworld, so he essentially can do almost whatever he wants, but he has to like he has a legally binding contract that he has to stay friends with those kids. Like he can't harm them anyway. He has to do whatever they say, whatever they do, whatever they tell him to do. He literally like basically is their servant, and it's hilarious because anytime Grim reminds anyone from his past, like or anyone from like the underworld or whatever that sees him and like they like find out about the situation, he tells them about the situation, and they all laugh at him. He's like, "How did you look? You're the Grim Reaper. Like everyone fears you. You're literally the walking embodiment of death." And yet you have to listen to these two kids. And it's so funny. But like also Grim has like this also Grim still on the topic of voices, Grim has a Jamaican accent for some reason. And it's never explained. It's never like mentioned. No one ever questions it. It just is. Like he just has a Jamaican accent. No one ever talks about it. I think his grandma also has a Jamaican accent. But then like eventually like later one of the later seasons they show his parents, like a flashback to his childhood, and they show his parents. And his dad is voiced by Kurtwood Smith, who's Red Foreman from that '70s show. His dad's voiced by Red Foreman. His mom is voiced by, I don't know her name. I feel bad I don't know her name. But it's the lady that does the voice for Mrs. Potato Head in the Toy Story movies. So his parents are Red Foreman and Mrs. Potato Head, but somehow Grim has a Jamaican accent. That makes sense. And it's like no one questions it. No one ever mentions it. It's hilarious. Like, occasionally there's jokes about it, but like it's never like directly at the why is this not like a why is he Jamaican? It's more like there's an episode where like they show up. I think it's like Grim and Mandy were trying to get Billy to stop watching TV because Billy's obsessed with TV, And they show up to the house, still Billy's house, and it's like, oh, we're TV repairman, mon. And then Billy says, TV repairman, mon. It's like, I don't remember calling you. It's so stupid. But like honestly, like it shows like one of my all time favorite shows. Like has some of the greatest bits. It unfortunately never truly had an actual ending, like an actual final episode. And it's unfortunate, but also it's been recently like brought up on social media that the actual creator of the show, Maxwell Adams, has like he said he has the script he has a script ready for a movie, for a Billy and Mandy movie that would like wrap up the series, explain what happened to the characters. It would give closure to the series, kind of like how almost in the style of how Invader Zim had Into the Floor Puss, and then Rocco's Modern Life had the Static Cling, like these movies that came out. It's like, yeah, it's 20 years after the series, but here's a movie like the series, and like they had a lot of buzz around more like Hey Arnold, how Hey Arnold had the Jungle movie that came out, and it's like, oh man, people like really happy to see you finally see what happens to Arnold's parents. You get all like finally get closure on the series, and it's a great thing, and people had a lot of hype about it. But apparently, like Maxwell Adams was like, yeah, he has a script ready for a movie like in that similar way, but Cartoon Network doesn't has no plans to make it. They don't want to make it because they don't think because they said they don't think kids would know who Billy or Mandy are. Like there's no recognition of Billy and Mandy. No, there would be no buzz around it because kids wouldn't recognize who Billy and Mandy are. Modern kids, today's kids wouldn't know who they are. But it's also like I feel like that's stupid because that movie, you make that movie, you're not making that movie for the kids. Like, Hair on the Jungle movie was made for the adults who are people who are now adults who are now parents who grew up watching Hair on. You watch that movie with the kids like it, you go back and you rewatch the series. The Invader Zim movie was for the people who grew up watching Invader Zim. Invader Zim had like 2 seasons and it got canceled. There's no way modern kids would know. It's like, yeah, modern kids don't know who Invader Zim is, but the shirts are still selling this hot topic. Like, there's Invader Zim Funko Pops. Like, the merchandise is still moving because the people who grew up watching it like it, and then also it's just seen as this like, crazy thing that's still around. Rocco's Modern Life. There's Rocco's Modern Life. There's like random merch of the people who grew up watching the show are still buying it. You made the movie for the people who watched it growing up. You're not making it for the generation. You're not making it for the kids now. Even though it is a kid series and you are a kids network, like you make cartoons, it's not aimed at the kids. It's aimed at the people who watched that series when they were kids. And like it, honestly, like a Billy and Mandy movie would make money. It would get seen. Like it would get views. People would love it. People would flock to it. Like it's such a great series and such like a well respected and like well loved, such a loved series, and everyone like there's so many people that still really love it and still into it. Unfortunately, like, it's not on streaming services. There's like no real way to watch Billy and Mandy, but also that's kind of just like a thing of like Cartoon Network does in general. Like it was a video about why Galactic Kids Next Door never got made because how Kids Next Door ended with number one being sent off to join the Galactic Kids Next Door, and like they were supposed to be like, oh man, it's a big deal, and it's like that was actually supposed to spin off into another series, and it never happened. And there's like all these teasers online, like the creators had all this stuff like set up, like all these secrets hidden like websites they put online and all this stuff, and it never like fully like added up to anything. It's just like there's a video like where they like interview them and flat out ask them like, why did this never go anywhere? What happened to Galactic Kicks Next Door? And basically it turns out like Galactic Kicks Next Door was set to be a thing. Like it was being written, it was being worked on, it was being set up to be a thing that was gonna happen. But then the president of Cartoon Network like changed presidents or whatever, and like the chain of command got all switched out. And the person that was like who greenlit it was like pushing that along no longer worked there. They were no longer in power. Someone else came in power, and basically, I guess like this what happened. Like from what I heard, this is what happens pretty much anytime like Cartoon Network switches presidents. Anytime someone new comes into like play and gets into power, they basically shut down all the old shows. Like all the shows that were approved before they were in power get shut down. Anything that was airing will like that are in the middle of a season, that's the last season. Or if they're working on a season, finish the season you're on, but that's your last season. And like nothing that like or things that like got approved and haven't started airing yet will get shut down. They'll cancel. They won't even make it to air because the person in charge only wants to air shows that they okayed. So anything that got okayed by the person before them that hasn't started being made, that hasn't started airing, will get canceled, will get shut down, will lose all funding. They'll completely drop that show. It'll just never get made. And it'll get replaced by these things, by new ideas that are getting okayed by the current president. So it's like a lot of Cartoon Network shows never get actual final episodes, like final season, get any kind of closure because like the new person comes in, it's like, yeah, I didn't approve that. I don't care. I only want my shows. I want things I made, things I'm approving to be made. I want the legacy. Basically, my legacy. I'm building my legacy by destroying the old legacy. It's almost like kind of like a dictatorship, almost like where like you come in, you burn everything of the old regime. Every element of the old regime is out. Anyone that worked for them is out. Anything that was in power, gone. the person before me doesn't exist. All you know is me. All there is and ever will be is me. And it's kind of a dark way to look at it, kind of messed up, but it's also like basically what it is. Like why so many of these shows never fully get closure. Like it's crazy that Ed and Eddie actually got a finale. They got a solution. They got that movie that ended the series, and it was great. It was awesome. It was so dope. I'm like glad to see it, but like so few shows got that. I think Ed and Eddie got a conclusion. I think Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends got a conclusion, and I think that's about it. Like I don't think Powerpuff Girls ever got a conclusion, and they just got rebooted, and the reboot was terrible. No one really liked it. Teen Titans, I don't think Teen Titans ever actually got a conclusion. It got rebooted to Teen Titans Go, and people hate that and trash that. Then they kind of got mentioned in the Teen Titans vs Teen Titans Go movie, which is that's actually pretty dope, but doesn't fully explain what happens to the Teen Titans series, and almost also kind of hints at Teen Titans series original series might be coming back, but so far that's not happening. And then I'm trying to think like what else other shows were like popping up. I mean, Chowder got a last episode, which is crazy. Chowder actually got a finale. That's crazy. But it got its finale like during its original run. It got a finale. It's crazy. But yeah, like Billy and Mandy, man, just give the show a finale. Like give the finale it deserves. It deserves it. Technically, the last thing Billy and Mandy ever made was like the Underfish special, which was technically supposed to be the pilot for the Underfish series, which never got made. So it's like their last episode was the backdoor pilot for a series that didn't even get made. So not only did their series not get a finale, their finale, what's considered their finale, was used to start up another series that never even made it. That didn't even get one episode. So it's like that's dropping a ball in two cases, man. That's two failures right there. That's two separate things that got canceled. Oh yeah, so your show got canceled by got canceled by starting a show that also got canceled right after it. So it's just like, man, dude, just make the movie. Come on, man. Billy and Mandy's so great. There's so many great episodes. There's so many memorable things that happen. There's so many like just insanely awesome moments that like live on forever. That are still like jokes to these days. Still running gags. Still people talk about to this day, bro. Like it's so crazy. Like honestly, one of my favorite episodes is Keeper of the Reaper, where it's like Billy finds out his dad has a job. His dad got a job out of town, so they're moving. And then him and Mandy go to court over who gets custody of Grimm. They go to this underworld court of who actually gets to keep Grimm, because technically he's supposed to be both their best friend for life. So they got to figure out who gets to keep him if Billy's leaving town, who gets to keep him. And the whole court case is just a complete joke. Like Billy's an idiot. Also it's a musical. There's a bunch of musical numbers in it, but the whole thing is just like, yeah, Billy's like, man, he's like, Billy isn't competent enough to control Grimm. He shouldn't have the powers of the underworld. If Billy gets Grimm, we're all doomed. And Billy's whole quest is just, I should get Grimm because I want Grimm and I should get what I want. And it's just like, they call all these witnesses to the sand. Like, they call Irwin, but I guess he's like in the middle of taking a bath. So he's like freaking out because like he's like naked but covered in bubbles. And like, why am I here? How did I get here? What's going on? And Billy's like offering no help whatsoever. And like, eventually Irwin just freaks out on the stand and they like teleport him into the same cage they're holding Grimm in. So then the case. Mandy calls Jeff the Spider, who's technically Billy's son, is like a spider egg Billy sat on and hatched. But Billy, like, who's a giant sentient spider who talks and like just loves Billy, like treats him like his dad. It's like, ah, Dad, I love you. And like Billy's just like jabbing him with a giant stick. It's like, I'll jab you good, you filthy bud. I'll drag you good, you filthy bug. He's like, Dad, why won't you love me? I'll be anything you want. It's like, I want you to be dead. Like Billy just can't get over the fact that he's a giant spider and he hates spiders. He can't get over the fact that he's a giant bug. He just wants him dead. Then he calls Pet Fish Little Pork Chop, who's this tiny fish he had that like end up getting like Grimm's magic made him giant, and Billy just completely neglected him and refused to give him water and just like essentially tortured him, like but like not intentionally. Like it was just like in stupid, like just through his own negligence of like not realizing that hey, this giant fish needs water to live. Like Billy made him dress up and wear a tuxedo and like eat dinner with him, and he was like, finish your vegetables, and then you can have some water. And it's just like he's like suffocating. He's out of water. Like he's not like a giant fish, not in water. Billy won't give him water. He like fed him spicy food and stuff. It's just like all these insane things. And like when they call him a stand, it's like, oh, he was like talking about how he's Billy's pet for like a short amount of time. He's like, I still have nightmares. The nightmares. I still wake up screaming. It's hilarious. And at one point, Mandy like teleports in the hat of one Wiggy Jiggy Jed, who was Billy's dog, who was like his dream dog. It's like parents said he can adopt a dog, and he goes to the pound to adopt a dog, but it's like all these dogs there, and like he has like they all have qualities that Billy likes. Like, man, I wish they were all just one dog. So Grim like uses magic to merge them all together and makes one dog. But it's like Wiggy Jiggy Jed, who's like basically a Hanna-Barbera style character almost. He's kind of like a Huckleberry Hound mixed with Tomcat, and like he has the classic like hat that's like doesn't fully sit on his like tiny hat that doesn't fully sit on his head, it's just like floating slightly above his head. And like Wiggy Jiggy Jed's whole thing is like Jed don't get no bed, he gets red in the head, like he has to sleep in a bed. And Billy was like, no, you're sleeping on the floor. And like Billy makes him sleep on the floor. So eventually Wiggy Jiggy Jed goes, he's like, I had that. And Billy's like, whole thing is like Billy ends up destroying Wiggy Jiggy Jed. It was like, I had to destroy him. And like no one believes him, but it's like he went insane. Because Billy wouldn't let Wiggy Jiggy Jed sleep in his bed. So Wiggy Jiggy Jed went insane, made this giant robot that was just going to destroy every bed in town. Because since he can't sleep in a bed, no one can. It's hilarious, but also like the episode also has that the Wiggy Jiggy Jet episode also has one of my favorite. It has a dope Billy line in the intro, but it's like Billy's like sleeping and like talking and sleep. It's like, Wiggy Jiggy Jet is my best friend. I love him so much. But if that filthy mud ever tries to sleep in my bed again, I'll spank him with a turkey leg. It's so dope. And it's like there's just a lot of like great voice lines like that from Billy. But also back to Creepy the Reaper. It introduced one of the best characters ever. So hilarious. Fred Burger, who's just like completely, I don't even understand, man. Like he's like, if Billy's dumb, like he's like Billy Stupid turned up another notch to where like Fred Burger is honestly like just insane. Like he doesn't know why he's in court. He doesn't fully understand what he's there for. Like he's part of the jury, and like, he just doesn't know. He's completely oblivious to what he's supposed to be doing, and doesn't know anything. And like he just keeps interrupting court and like annoying the judge. And when he's like, Judge, like he starts asking for food. It's like, there's no food here. There's no food. This is a court. Blah blah blah. And it's like there's one point where like, they're singing about song. They sing the song "Keeper of the Reaper" and like giving a reason why they should be the one who gets to keep Grim. And the judge is like, this is the amount of stress is cussing my chest. I'm going blind in one eye, and it's all because of that stupid guy. And he points at Fred Burger over in the jury box and looks over him. He's like, Fred Burger's like, don't worry, I found some nachos. The judge just walks over with a gavel, smacks him in the face with it, and takes his nachos. There's also one point where like Fred Burger asked the judge, it's like when they're gonna get those hammer thingies, referring to the gavel, is like, you don't get them. Well, can I borrow yours? Because I can use it to make some like really nice stuff, like a chair or maybe a table. Or he's like, no, be quiet. And eventually Fred Burger just walks over, takes the judge's gavel, and it starts hammering the wall, just starts smacking the wall with it, going Fred Burger, Fred Burger. It's so stupid. And like when he's in the beginning, when he's like filling out the paperwork to be in a jury, he's spelling his name. It's like FREDFREDBURGER. Fred Burger. Yes. It's like his catchphrase is just like he says his name and then follows it with yes. It's so fun. It's so funny. Eventually, like he makes the court take a break because he has to go poop. So he like just like fine, just gives him a bathroom break. But and it's just like eventually like they try to resolve the case before he gets back because the judge is just tired of dealing with him. And eventually the jury ends up split 50-50, so Fred Burger has to be the deciding factor. And eventually like he chooses like I forgot, like he says something stupid, just yes to Billy or yes to Mandy. Yes. And it's just like judge just end up interpreting it as like, you're right, we can't split Grim up because that would ruin their friendship. You can't split friends because friends are more important than anything, blah blah blah. So eventually like the judge orders that Billy's family puts Billy's family on house arrest, and they can never leave Innsville, which is the town they live in. So Billy's family is court ordered forced to stay in the town they live in, so they can't split up Grim. And it's just like the funniest thing, dude. Stupid. And eventually like Fred Burger comes back in later episodes, and like he's just still just annoying and stupid, and it's hilarious. But also, speaking of Billy's family, like Billy's mom, like in season 1, Billy's mom is just like freaked. She's the only one that's freaked out by Grim. Like realizes that's the actual Grim Reaper. Like she's the only one freaked out about it. Like Billy's dad is just like too stupid and oblivious to realize what's going on. But she like completely hates him because he's deaf. Like she hates him because she's scared of him. But also like that's the actual spirit of death. Like that's the physical embodiment of death. Why is he living in our house? And she's like freaked out about it and like tries to frame him for all these crimes and stuff. And eventually, like they find out that she was just trying to frame him, so she gets arrested and sent away. And so then Bill Grimm just lives with everybody's cool with Grimm except for her. And so her whole thing is like how she's just like terrified, how she hates Grimm, she hates all like the magical things, like all the evil magic, all the underworld stuff, and she just like wants to get rid of Grimm. And she's also like completely insane, but everybody just ignores her. And then, like Billy's dad is just a giant idiot, but also like I guess like he went to Harvard, he got accepted to Harvard, so he's like not stupid, but also kind of like he's just like goofy. It's like essentially he's like an older version of Billy, and it's like it's just played for laughs. But like sometimes like realize he'll say like incredibly like insightful things sometimes, but also like he's just an idiot most of the time and just doesn't know what's going on. Like this episode where there's the battle of the band. Like Billy wants to get the band Purple Filth. This is the kids from down the street. They have a band called Purple Filth. Billy wants to get in it, and like they won't let him in. But then like it's like, oh no, but Grimm's good. And, like Grimm plays the guitar and like does Stairway from Heaven and like levels half the block while playing it. And so they let him in a band, and then like they Purple Filth goes and joins the battle of the bands, and then eventually Billy and his dad make up a band. It's like, oh no, being a rock star is easy, Billy. So they make their own band for the battle of the bands, and Billy's dad is Mogar. Actually, it's Mogar. But like it has like eventually they realize Billy's dad has no plan on playing the instruments. He just battle the bands. He's taking it literally like his bands are just gonna fight. But also speaking of battle of the bands, this is really Purple Filth plays their performance as this actual really dope song. It's called it's Darkness by the band SPF 1000, which look it up. Song is dope. If you like metal or just like heavy rock songs, it's really dope. It also really fits the vibe of like the whole spooky season vibes, which is why I'm reviewing this episode right now, because this whole show like keys into the dark elements, spooky season, like the movie, the classic monsters, the underworld thing. Dracula's a big part of it. Like the character Dracula is a really big deal. He gets introduced in one episode as Grimm's like doing community service in an old folks home for like retired monsters. Dracula's there, like the Bride of Frankenstein's there, the Wolfman's there, and they're all like old and like tired and retired and like worn down monsters, just classic monsters. But they're all there, and like Dracula's honestly like Dracula steals the show, man. He's one of the funniest characters. Like he's more like it's more like I call him Blackula. It's more like his name is Dracula, but he's also more like the character of Blackula. Like he's basically like James Brown as Dracula. Just Muon's more like Dracula. And he's just like classic old guy. He doesn't listen to anything anybody says. Like one time they take him like go take some mini golfing, and the guy calls him like Jim's trying to get the senior discount. It's like what senior? Dracula ain't no senior citizen. And it's like Dracula completely denial about his being old. And like they're playing mini golf and he's just like hitting the ball full swing. Dracula's just like, you can't hit the ball that hard. You're gonna hurt somebody. Oh, you scared of Dracula. Dracula got too much game for you. And like the guy who runs the place comes over and starts talking to Dracula. Like, listen here, old timer. Old timer. Dracula show you old timer. Starts chasing him with the club, trying to beat him. It's so great, dude. So classic. And eventually it gets revealed that he's the character Erwin, Billy's best friend Erwin, who's like super nerdy. It's revealed that Dracula is his grandpa. And it's like his grandma, like Dracula, like this ran off years ago because like his grandma, like he came in, turned into a bat, flew into after mowing the lawn at night, flew into the house of the bat, trying to get a glass of lemonade, and goes to talk to his wife, who's Erwin's grandma, and like she just sees a bat and freaks out and starts smacking him with a baseball bat, and like drops a bowling ball on him and beats him up. She's like, oh baby, and like years later she finds out that was Dracula. She's like, oh baby, I didn't know you can turn into a bat. It's like, what? Everybody know Dracula turns into a bat. That's what Dracula do. It's so great, dude. Like Dracula, honestly, like Fred Burger and Dracula are two great characters, but Dracula steals the show, bro. Like every episode he's in, Dracula is hilarious, man. Like he's completely over the top, like just crazy old man, but it's so funny. If you haven't checked out, you've never seen the show, I highly recommend checking it out. If you have seen it, just go check out some clips on YouTube, man. Just go relive the glory days. Like most of the specials are on YouTube. Jacked Up Halloween is on YouTube. Big Boogie Adventure is on YouTube. Wrath of the Spider Queen is on YouTube. I'm pretty sure Billy and Mandy Save Santa Claus, like the whole Christmas episode's on YouTube. That one's hilarious. Highly recommend checking out all of them. They're great. There's great music. Also, almost completely forgot to check, but I get there. The show actually introduced me into the artist Voltaire, like because they have there's the early season they do the episode Brains, where like this giant evil meteor from outer space comes and like gets Billy to like bring people to him because he eats brains, and that song's done by Voltaire. And then also in the Big Boogie Adventure, it starts off the song "The Land of the Dead." In the land of the dead, dark side royalty. What is it? I'm well renowned in the underground. You can't take that away from me. No, you can't take that from me. Such a great song. That's None My Voltaire. I highly recommend checking them out. It's like kind of like spooky. Also, once again, fits great in the spooky season vibes. It's like orchestra, almost like orchestral, like spooky music, but not like slasher spooky, more like comedy, like goofy comedy, horror, like slightly dark, but also kind of jokey. Like he has a song called "Zombie Prostitute." It's about him going on a date with a zombie. He going out on a date with this lady who turns out to be a zombie. Like with a prostitute, he finds out she's a zombie, and event at the end of it, like she ends up turning him into a zombie. It's like, would you know? Now I'm a zombie gigolo. Like it's all like kind of upbeat and funny. It's great. Highly recommend checking it out. But yeah, thanks again for tuning into this podcast. Please like the video, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, tell your friends, follow me on social media, do all that stuff, you know, all the classic, all the good stuff. But yeah, man, thanks for checking us out. Hopefully you're having a great spooky season. Maybe if you're not checking us out during spooky season, catch us any other time of the year. I mean, this does show fits year round. It's a great show year round. But yeah, Billy and Mandy, great watch. Highly recommend it. Thanks for tuning in, guys.